Yes, good morning everyone. 16th April 2022. Let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Okay, so not many articles relevant to our examination, although some of the articles we'll try to revise them. Okay, so there will be some repetition, but yes, some new aspects we'll discuss there. Okay, fine. So on first page, there is one small news. Warm COVID jab gives hope in animal trials. Okay, so yes, good morning everyone. The online students on YouTube also. Good morning to all of you. Yes. So on the first page, there is this news talking about warm vaccine. One should know that a majority of the, or most of the vaccines, they are stored in the refrigerator, largely below 8 degrees Celsius of temperature. Many of them are also stored sub-zero temperatures. Especially जैसे कुछ कोविड वैक्सीन्स है, कोविड-19 वैक्सीन्स है, those developed in US or UK, so they are stored in a sub-zero temperature. Okay, so the trials in this particular case are being done to develop the vaccine which can remain, we can say, active and potent at room temperature. That's why it is called as warm vaccine. ऐसा नहीं कि वो 100 डिग्री सेल्सियस पे, rather room temperature पे वो store कर सके हम, right? So because the storage facilities is becoming the hurdle here, and what happens is to transport these vaccines that requires cold storage also, and many times these vaccines they become less potent and they have to be discarded. ठीक है, तो ये एक एस्पेक्ट कंसिडर करके हमें ऐसा वैक्सीन डेवलप कर रहे हैं. We will talk about that. Okay, Sri Lankan crisis. There is one article, lead article on page number 6. We'll discuss that. Directly come to page number 6 now. Okay. There is on page number 4. There is one photograph. You can see that Nihang youth displaying their skills on concluding day of Baisakhi Mela. Right. So from Punjab, which is the martial art form that Nihangs are experts in? होता है ना वो तलवार के साथ में और वो घुमाते हैं, देखो, those martial art skills. What is the name? Local name? Gatka. Okay. So Gatka is the martial art form of Punjab. Remember that. Okay, coming on to the lead page or editorial page, you can see the lead article, Sri Lanka stares at bankruptcy or redemption. So the article is written by the, let's say, the political economist and senior lecturer from Sri Lanka itself. So he is going to give some actual inputs, ground reality, what is happening in Sri Lanka, why this is happening. ठीक है, तो और ज़्यादा हम डेप्थ में यहाँ पे समझ के लेंगे what is the reason behind the economic crisis, whether it is, let's say, purely political or some kind of, let's say, economic aspects are also responsible. ये सारी चीज़ें हमें देखनी है. Okay, on left hand side, take 2. The context here is that recently UGC had, let's say, declared its dual degree program. ठीक है, वो प्रपोजल जो है वो इम्प्लीमेंट होने वाला है फ्रॉम दिस एकेडमिक ईयर, राइट? सो दैट विद दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट द आर्टिकल इज एक्सप्लेनिंग what is that proposal in the first part, and in the second part it is analyzing that, especially some difficulties that, let's say, this proposal may come across while implementation. ठीक है, तो देखते हैं उस आर्टिकल को फ्रॉम GS टू पेपर एजुकेशन एंड HRD पार्ट. फाइन. Okay, now on page number 9 on bottom side you can see Egypt to import wheat from India, right? So earlier, few days back, we were talking about this, that India is having this opportunity to export wheat grain to some of the countries which were largely dependent on Ukraine and Russia. Okay, and this is now the good opportunity for, let's say, exporting this food grains to Egypt. Egypt largely was earlier dependent for almost 80% of its wheat imports from Ukraine and Russia. Now it is not able to import from those countries. So the officials of Egypt, they visited recently India, they looked into the quality aspects, and now they are confirming that they will import it. ठीक है. So likewise India is also looking into opportunity to export the wheat to different Gulf countries and also some of the Southeast nations. ठीक है. Yes. Yes, India gets S400 training equipments. So yes, already last year UPSC asked question in GS3 paper, so about this technicalities of S400 tram system. अभी फिर से वो क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा, ठीक है, बट यू शुड नो द नेचर ऑफ क्वेश्चन नाउ यूपीएससी इज आस्किंग. वी हैव टू ऑल्सो लुक इनटू द डिटेल्स ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंट डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजीज. ठीक है, टेक्नोलॉजी इज पार्ट ऑफ आवर सिलेबस एंड डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजी इज वन ऑफ द एस्पेक्ट. ठीक है, तो स्पेशली इंडिजिनाइजेशन ऑफ डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजी, फ्रॉम दैट एस्पेक्ट देयर इज वन आर्टिकल, विल टॉक अबाउट दैट. On page number 10, you can see here, Navy accelerates indigenization efforts, focus on weapons and aviation items. Okay, so what is that indigenization plan of Navy is there? What various, let's say, aspects are involved there? Okay, so up till now largely the focus was on army. ठीक है, अभी Navy जो है, it is accelerating that indigenization. ठीक है, so we'll talk about that part also. And on top side you can see work in progress. India made worm vaccine to fight COVID. Okay, so which company is going to produce that, and yes, how it will be beneficial, that aspect you should know from COVID-19 perspective. Yes, you can see on page number 11, Nepal running low on foreign exchange reserve. So another neighbor of India, we can expect such kind of BOP crisis in Nepal also. See, BOP crisis is not always bad. ठीक है, BOP crisis मतलब in a sense it is not always crisis. It can be managed when the actions are taken or intervention is taken in the right time, in a right manner. Okay, at present in Sri Lanka there is, let's say, delay in response, and that too some kind of, let's say, political aspects are involved. ठीक है, तो उसकी वजह से वहाँ पे क्राइसिस हो रहा है. इट इज़ नॉट दैट द कंट्री इज नॉट डूइंग वेल. ठीक है, तो देखते हैं हम, वो लीड आर्टिकल डिस्कस करेंगे, उसमें समझ में आ जाएगा हमें. ओके, fine. So these are the articles, not so many articles relevant to our examination especially. So we will discuss these articles one by one. First, Sri Lanka stares at bankruptcy and redemption. Okay, although we are discussing similar articles in last 1 week, okay, also we are going to have ED on this particular topic. We have to understand from mains perspective, it is relevant to GS2 paper IR section, GS3 paper economy part. Okay. Yes, economic crisis in Sri Lanka. Now at present the situation on the ground, yes, we know that the common people are facing problem in terms of food prices and even availability. ठीक है, so lack of availability of food grains and very high prices. Then let's say people are queuing up on, let's say, fuel for to buy the fuel. ठीक है, be it petrol, kerosene. So of course there is, and also high price of fuel, crunch also. Then power cuts, electricity, because the country is not having sufficient resources. ठीक है, power production के लिए. So power cuts are also there. At the same time, because of all these aspects, recently there has been huge protests. Okay, and because of that the Sri Lankan government, in last weekend there was emergency for 36 hours, declared emergency in Sri Lanka. Okay, this is the situation. And what are the recent decisions taken by the government? Two important decisions. It declared default on all external borrowings, around $51 billion. And second, it is going to take help from IMF. for restructuring of its loan. ठीक है, तो ये गवर्नमेंट डिसीजन, दिस इज द बैकग्राउंड. ओके, नाउ पॉलिसी choices. So the writer is saying that whatever the policy choices that the government has taken in, let's say, last 3-4 decades, it is let's say the cumulative result of these choices, the present crisis that Sri Lanka is facing. Okay, for example, you can take the example here, like for example, increase in the subsidies. When this present government came in power, it increased huge amount of subsidies. At the same time, second, tax cuts. Okay, tax cuts were declared. Then the policy of 100% organic farming. This has resulted into decline in production, food grain production. It is also affecting especially tea production. Okay, tea production has also affected, and because of that the problem is faced. Then yes, the other policy measures like simply delay in seeking help from IMF. Okay, right time पे response नहीं है, intervention नहीं है. This is also one of the main concern. Then date diplomacy, checkbook diplomacy or date diplomacy by China. ठीक है. Now also, even before IMF, what Sri Lankan government was expecting help from India and China. Okay, and this has been the case since many decades. In 2016, Sri Lanka faced similar kind of BOP crisis, and it sought help from IMF that time also. Okay, so IMF extended some loan, but yes, all these policies, in addition to that, even despite of, let's say, IMF help or restructuring, the problem still persisted. The problem still persisted largely because of political intervention. ठीक है, तो जिसको हम बोलते हैं ना कि political economics जिसको बोलते हैं, that has not been the good, or that has not been with good policies जिसको बोलते हैं, right kind of policies नहीं थे. Now the real cost of reforms package that will be given by IMF will be much higher and invariably borne by the working people, common people, right? So of course that will be passed on the common people. For example, that reform package may include, like for example, you can take reduced subsidies. किस पे इम्पैक्ट गिरता है, किसको सब्सिडीज मिलती है? कॉमन पीपल, पुअर पीपल. सो ऑफ कोर्स दैट विल बी द इशू. सेकंड, इंक्रीज इन द टैक्सेस. इफ सपोज indirect taxes are increased, who is going to face the problem? Again the common people, right? Third aspect, there will be what you can say, yes, open economy. Open economy in a sense, let's say floating exchange rate, especially, although at present it is being implemented. In between, Sri Lankan government tweaked with that. ठीक है, फिक्स करने की कोशिश की थी उन्होंने, तो उसकी वजह से भी बहुत सारा प्रॉब्लम हुआ था. Now this will result into increase in fuel prices, because this will, let's say, largely focus on de-administrating of prices of goods. This will be also included in reform package. Okay, so all these aspects largely they will be impacting common people more and not the elite class. And this bailout package is largely going to benefit whom? ठीक है, जो एक्सटर्नल बोरोइंग्स लिए गए थे वो किसको लार्जली हेल्प हुआ उसका? द एलाइट क्लास, द बिजनेस क्लास. ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस. जो भी बोरोइंग्स होती है, they are invested largely in large infrastructure projects. Okay, and these projects are implemented by big companies. Okay, so who benefits from such kind of package? basically the large companies or elite class. Okay, and the common people is going to face the problem. This aspect one should understand. Okay, then the default not only taints the country in the international lending scene, but also creates desperate reliance on IMF. Now, as it is seeking help from IMF, then the let's say whatever the conditions that IMF will put, that Sri Lankan government has to listen. ठीक है, तो ये क्या हो गया, यूनिलैटरल काइंड ऑफ पैकेज होगा. There will not be bargaining power. Why? Because the Sri Lankan government has lost the credit worthiness. ठीक है, so because of that, what happens is they have to listen to whatever the IMF is offering here. Then there is no guarantee that IMF agreement will lead to even financial stability. Why we are saying that? Further, there will be, let's say, even if let's say IMF agreement is or whatever the reform package is implemented, one should know that the same reforms have been implemented by the government in last 1 decade. For example, de-administering of fuel prices like petrol price. Okay, so it is market price, demand supply, so it is passed on to the consumer. उसमें अलग क्या करेंगे और? Okay, second thing is that if let's say the social sector is not addressed, then again there will be increased rich poor divide. है ना? If government is not having sufficient resources for welfare purpose, then again rich poor divide will be increased, and because of that again there may be let's say a civil crisis in future. Okay. Third aspect is again related to, we can say that the dependency on external debt. Okay, the government is always borrowing, Sri Lankan government, try to understand, it is always dependent on external borrowing or external loans or any kind of credit facility. Okay, although it is small country, but there is no largely, let's say, the expertise developed by this country. And the elite class in Sri Lanka wanted to develop Sri Lanka as Singapore. And Singapore, we know that it is a small country, but it has developed or it has become the major port for the Southeast Asian countries. And it is along the major maritime trade route. Strait of Malacca से वहाँ से पास होते ही immediately Singapore होता है. The similar, let's say, expectation was for the Sri Lankan government to develop, because Sri Lanka, Colombo port is also located along this line. Okay, so but this did not happen. Okay, this did not happen. So one should know that already the efforts have been done in that direction, but वो हो नहीं रहा है. Now, Sri Lanka's worst fear at the moment is likely food crisis, where starvation or even famine are real possibilities. Although the government is focusing on economic recovery and all these aspects, but the most important and urgent matter of concern is food security. Okay, especially at present the food inflation is more than 25%. The overall inflation is around 15%, but food inflation is very high, and common people is not able to afford that, let's say, costly food. ठीक है, तो hunger and starvation deaths, this is going to be the major problem, and we are, let's say, witnessing many such refugees entering into, let's say, on the Indian coast in Tamil Nadu, and what they are saying, we are facing starvation. What is their first argument? ठीक है, तो वो है उनके पास food grains नहीं है, and try to understand this, when the person or the people, a human, they do not have anything to eat, जो hunger, तो वो कुछ भी करने के लिए ready होता है. Right, so of course they will migrate, they will try to seek some asylum to other country. ठीक है, this is let's say immediate, we can say, impact. Now, if anyone has to pay for this crisis, it must obviously be the wealthier classes in the country. The imposition of wealth tax is the way forward that is being suggested. So tax, increasing tax, that is fine. And the reform package will largely suggest here that revenue-led fiscal consolidation. ऐसे word answer में लिखना है. Okay, write this: revenue-led fiscal consolidation. So that means increase in revenue should be there. Taxes should be increased, and especially taxes on which class? Rich class, wealthy class. Then it will be, let's say, leading to some kind of redistribution of wealth. Okay, and therefore the poor people, especially food security and the social security aspects, are addressed for poor people. Okay, so yes, you can write like this: the wealthy people should be having wealth tax, जैसे कुछ luxury cars है या फिर कुछ land property business earnings above certain levels, so that should be taxed. ठीक है? Okay. Now moving on, take 2. Yes, UGC proposal for dual degree academic program. Now this article is having this context of UGC proposal, and this has been in line with national education policy directives, or we can say principles, like with emphasis on facilitating multiple pathways to learning using formal and non-formal modes. This is one of the objective of NEP, National Education Policy 2020, and as a logical extension to this, the UGC has proposed the 3 ways for the dual degree. What are 3 ways? Combination of 2 offline courses. First one, offline with distance mode, 1 offline, 1 distance, and distance or online modes only for dual program. This is third, 1 distance, 1 online, or both distance, both online, let's say such kind of thing. So actual, not in physical presence. So 3 choices have been given here. Now UGC has done well to mandate that open and distance learning and online mode courses should be pursued only in higher education institutions recognized by statutory bodies. How it is going to help? Because many such online platforms have emerged. They are not accredited to universities, or simply they are not recognized by the universities, and we can say that is not resulting into any kind of educational outcomes. Quality of education is not ensured. Okay? So yes, there is specific provision here. Now, in terms of analysis, one should know that the proposal is having good intentions, but the problem is with first one, combination of offline mode only, both offline modes, or both courses in offline mode. Basically, one should know that there are some limitations to this, and the main limitation is related to very low college density that we are having at national level. National average college density is 30 in India. In terms of let's say 1 college per, let's say, I guess 10,000 population of age between 18 to 23. Okay, so that data is mentioned in this article. College density, national average college density is 30, and it is very low. Okay, and when there is low college density, the number of seats available are very less. So very few people have opportunity, and if let's say the same person is opting for 2 courses, then again reduced number of seats. In addition to that, these available seats will be taken up by those meritorious students and those belonging to rich class. ठीक है, तो ये भी तो है issue, right? So of course this needs to be addressed. This is going to be, let's say, creating some kind of logistical problem, as well as administrative problem, as well as some academic problem. Okay. Then at the same time, the similar issue was discussed by one UGC committee earlier, and that committee had recommended this mode, 1 online and 1 distance mode, not this one, both offline mode. I will tell you the name of that committee. Okay. Okay, that average college density, colleges per lakh population between 18 to 23 age group. Then UGC's Furqan Qamar Committee, okay, FURQAN QAMAR Qamar Committee, okay. So this committee earlier had recommended this mode, offline with distance mode, one offline, one distance, or online. So this is a good thing, but it has not recommended this one. Especially it has highlighted the concerns related to logistics and administration and academic issues. Okay, this aspect. Then one should also understand the other limitation here, limitation in terms of, we can say, overlapping syllabus. Suppose there are two courses opted by a particular, let's say, candidate, and both are engineering courses. Suppose a particular student want to pursue the engineering course from production engineering as well, and let's say civil engineering as well. Okay, so he is completing, suppose, the production engineering first, and then he is trying to also get the engineering degree in civil engineering. So in 2004 UGC had proposed that yes, the engineering courses can be opted in this manner, but the similar kind of credits or with subjects, like first year mein sare subjects same hote hain engineering mein, majority of subjects are same in the first year of engineering, so that year can be eliminated for those students. Okay, and that will reduce the overall time, है ना. तो ये जो aspect है overlapping syllabus वाला, so it will reduce the time, right? So that aspect is not covered here in this proposal up till now. So that can be implemented. Up till now it was proposed only for engineering courses by UGC. That can be extended to in arts and commerce field also. ठीक है, बाकी के जो fields है उसमें भी extend किया जाता है. Because suppose, let's say, if a person wants to do a BA in, let's say, a certain particular subject, and later on in other subjects, suppose. So in, let's say, BA history, that 3-year course, some of the subjects will be same in BA economics also. So there should not be repetition, no. 6 साल तक same पढ़ाई क्यों करनी है? 1 साल का अगर same होता है, वो credits common हटा देने चाहिए, right? So that will be more efficient here, right? Okay, so yes, in way forward you can give that proposal as a way forward here. Okay, so concern is related to this first combination, right? Second and third is fine, right? Yes. Sorry?
Are you getting my voice, sir?
Yes. Now you tell me.
Sir, based on my knowledge, the UGC has been recommended to be the member of graduation degree papers or graduation knowledge, sir.
Graduation degree paper or graduation knowledge? What you are saying?
They are going to be implementing for the giving the number of degrees or number of different types of knowledge improvement, sir.
No. See, it is having both aspects. See, getting degree is basically certificate of certain knowledge or skills. No. Try to understand this. Okay. And at the same time, it is exploring new opportunities also. At present, suppose I have done, let's say, graduation in mechanical engineering. And after, let's say, 5 years, suppose the economic scenario is like that engineering, mechanical engineering is not having scope, not having many jobs. So what is the use of that engineering degree? If suppose that person wants to, let's say, seek the new degree, new subject, where he finds or she finds the potential, future potential, या interest भी हो उनका, ठीक है, तो वो aspect भी यहाँ पे cover होता है. Okay, and this is actually the normal practice that is implemented for long time in developed countries. Basically, it opens the horizon for choice, है ना? हमें 12th स्टैंडर्ड तक पता होता है क्या कि हमें क्या पसंद है? इफ यू लेट्स से गो बैक इन योर ओन लाइफ, ठीक है, अभी आजकल पेरेंट्स काफी अवेयर हो चुके हैं एंड दे ऑलरेडी लेट्स से एक्सप्लेन द अपॉर्चुनिटीज ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल टू देयर चाइल्ड. ओके, बट हमारे टाइम पे क्या होता था? हमारे पास दो ही ऑप्शन थे, इंजीनियरिंग करो नहीं तो डॉक्टर करो, ठीक है, मेडिकल करो, ठीक है. सो देयर वाज नो ऑप्शन एंड बेसिकली इट वाज बिकॉज ऑफ लेट्स से एकेडमिक एस्पेक्ट्स आल्सो एंड लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस आल्सो, ठीक है. तो अभी ये ऐसे ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल करने के बाद, इफ सपोज लेट्स से द पर्सन वांट्स टू परस्यू a degree of his or her own choice even after doing one degree, ठीक है, even after doing one degree, so that is good thing, ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है ये? ओके, एंड एट द सेम टाइम इट इज गुड फॉर इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट्स आल्सो. फाइन. हाँ.
So rather than being that real degrees, rather than they included advanced curriculum and advanced programs in a single degree, it is a better to choice now for implementing.
That is being done. That is being done, especially in engineering courses. In first year itself, the optional subjects are there. Okay, of their choice, they are being included. And yes, even one should know that in future we can expect that in the first year of majority of science courses there will be same syllabus, so that the student can shift to other degrees also, ठीक है. जैसे इंजीनियरिंग में होता है, all types of engineering courses with different branches, in first year they have same subjects, okay. So in future we can expect कि वो उनका ब्रांच चेंज करता है. हमारे कॉलेज में भी क्या होता है, इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस में, let's say in first year if suppose a particular student gets very good marks, then that person, that let's say candidate is having opportunity to get the better branch in the second year of his or her choice. होता है, ठीक है. So this kind of opportunity is being done in certain colleges, in certain autonomous colleges it is being done, okay. Yes, so if that is being done, then in future we can expect no कि for the other courses also that will be applied, especially having let's say some interdisciplinary aspect, ठीक है. Okay, yes, next article, Navy accelerates indigenization efforts, focus on weapons and aviation atoms. Okay. Just have, let's say, have the knowledge about certain things, that indigenization of technology is part of our syllabus. Indigenization of defense technology we are talking here, and yes, UPC is asking such question, so we should be aware. Navy, which had taken early lead towards indigenization decades ago and in 2014 promulgated Indian Navy Indigenization Plan 2015 to 2030. Okay, remember this name. To enable indigenous development of equipment and systems is further ramping up indigenization efforts, especially in weapons and aviation related items. Okay. It is this step is in line with, let's say, government push to cut down defense imports and boost domestic manufacturing, especially at the backdrop of Ukraine-Russia crisis, because we were largely dependent on Russia. हमारा वो डिपेंडेंस कम करना है हमें. फॉर दैट पर्पज वी आर फोकसिंग ऑन डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्शन. ओके, देन एग्जिस्टिंग नेवल एविएशन इंडिजिनाइजेशन रोड मैप इज अंडर रिविजन. ओके, यस, there are currently 41 ships and submarines under construction. 39 are being built in Indian shipyards. This shows that we are focusing on domestic production. Then Navy is working with DRDO and industry to cut down developmental timelines also. So we are expediting the manufacturing facilities. Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization, which was launched by Defense Minister in August 2020, provides an accessible interface for academia and industry with Navy capability development apparatus. This is also good thing. The interface between the academia and industry, this has been lacking in past. Okay, so this is good development. Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization, ठीक है. तो ये तीन चीजें याद रखनी है. Indian Navy Indigenization Plan, then Naval Aviation Indigenization Roadmap, Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization. Fine. तो फोकस एरियाज कौन से इंडिजिनियस डिजाइन एंड डेवलपमेंट एंड प्रोडक्शन ऑफ एंटी सबमरीन वेपन्स एंड सेंसर्स, सैटकॉम एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वॉरफेयर इक्विपमेंट्स, ठीक है, सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन, एंटी शिप मिसाइल्स एंड मीडियम रेंज सरफेस टू एयर मिसाइल्स. Okay, so many things are mentioned, but broadly major things you can write down there. Okay, now yes, in last 2 years 36 IPRs, intellectual property rights applications have been filed by Navy personnel. This also shows indigenization, indigenous development of the technology. Okay. Fine? Yes. Now, work in progress. India made worm vaccine to fight COVID. So, worm vaccine, here we are talking about, let's say, the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, which can be stored at the room temperature. Okay, so worm vaccine developed by Bangalore-based Manvax Private Limited, a company incubated by the ISC Bangalore, is unique among existing vaccines in that it can be stored at 37 degrees Celsius for 4 weeks and at 100 degrees Celsius for up to 90 minutes. This is good thing. Why? Because majority of the, let's say, vaccines require refrigerators and can be kept at room temperature for not more than few hours. उसके बाद उनको defunct हो जाते हैं. Okay, they are waste, they have to be discarded. So that's why even the major, let's say, COVID-19 vaccines that are being given to the people, they require to be stored in a, let's say, temperatures below 8 degrees Celsius. Then one thing you should know, existing vaccines have been developed with the template of Wuhan strain, whereas the prevailing variants have significant structural differences like Delta, let's say, variant is there, or the, yes, Omicron variant is also there. The structural differences, many mutations are there, and let's say that improve their chances of evading the immune system generated antibodies. So whatever the new vaccine being developed, that should be effective against the new variants also. Okay, so let's see what happens in future. At present, the animal, let's say, trials of this particular vaccine have given positive results. ठीक है? Egypt to import wheat from India. Now it is important from GS3 paper economy part. Yes, a few days back when we were talking about the economic impact of this Ukraine-Russia war, there we talked about the food grain export opportunity from India. We know that, let's say, Ukraine and Russia is called as granaries of the world. Why?
Because grasslands are there.
Yes, which grasslands?
Steppies.
Very good. Steppies grassland. They are temperate grasslands. Okay, temperate grasslands of the world like steppe, prairies, velds. Basically, they are called as granaries of the world because they have been cleared for the practice of extensive commercial food grain agriculture. Extensive commercial agriculture. And the wheat has been the major, let's say, food grain produced there. So Ukraine and Russia largely exports this wheat, and at present they are at war. So that's why these countries who were dependent on these countries, Russia and Ukraine, they are facing the problem. They are exploring other countries from which the import of wheat can be done, and India is reaching out to these countries. Okay, so Egypt has now accepted that they will import. Egypt imported 6.1 million tons of wheat in 2021, largely 80% of it from Russia and Ukraine. Okay. Now they are going to import from India. Growth in wheat export is driven mostly by the demand from countries such as Bangladesh, United Arab Emirates, UAE, Qatar, Sri Lanka, Oman, Malaysia. So you can see that either these countries are island nations or desert countries or equatorial regions where wheat cannot be cultivated. Yes, equatorial region rice can be cultivated, but wheat cannot be cultivated. So whatever the requirements are there, wheat requirement, India is, let's say, well positioned to satisfy those requirements. In addition to that, now India is exploring, reaching out to countries like Yemen, Afghanistan and Indonesia also. Okay, fine. So yes, largely prelims related कोई development नहीं था, इसलिए हमने question नहीं add किया है. Right. So any question from your side?
Why in Bangladesh?
Yes, even Bangladesh only intensive rice cultivation happens. Okay, wheat cultivation के लिए वहाँ पे जो soil और climatic conditions जो है वो suitable नहीं है. Okay, so we have to understand that also. ठीक है, जो बांग्लादेश जो है वो ट्रॉपिक्स के अंदर आता है largely. ठीक है, या within tropics majority of part. And wheat is not appropriate, let's say, crop within tropics. It requires cooler temperatures. Try to understand. And it is majority of coastal country. Majority of coastal low-lying country है. ठीक है, तो flooding होता है वहाँ पे. These conditions are not appropriate. ठीक है, well drained soil या फिर जो हम बोलते हैं कि बहुत ही कम पानी चाहिए इसके लिए, wheat के लिए, especially during sowing period or early growing period. After that, during harvest time, it does not require, let's say, water. वहाँ पे cooler temperatures, drier conditions की ज़रूरत होती है. That is not available there. And similar conditions are not available in both equatorial region also and desert region also. India is, let's say, such country where varied climatic conditions are there. है ना? तो tropical crops भी है क्योंकि आधा country tropics में आता है, आधा आता है सब ट्रॉपिकल में या टेम्परेट में आता है. तो लेट्स से appropriate conditions are available. जैसे हरियाणा, पंजाब, वेस्टर्न यूपी, so such kind of conditions available where wheat can be cultivated. And in India, intensive cultivation is happening. Try to understand. जैसे ये यूक्रेन और वहाँ पे बहुत large extensive cultivation होता है. ठीक है. So that is a different thing because area is available. है ना, बट अपने इंडिया में क्या होता है, इंटेंसिव कल्टीवेशन. बट ऑफ कोर्स इवन इफ वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग एट वेरी हाई लेवल, वी आर नॉट एक्सपोर्टिंग बिकॉज डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन इज ह्यूज. है ना, लाइक इन नॉर्दर्न इंडिया इट इज स्टेपल फूड एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट द डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन इज ह्यूज, पॉपुलेशन इज ह्यूज. सो वी आर नॉट एक्सपोर्टिंग एज कंपेयर्ड टू दीज कंट्रीज जो यूक्रेन, रशिया है, यूएस है. उनकी पॉपुलेशन कम है, डिमांड्स कम है, एक्सपोर्ट कर देते हैं बाकी सारा. ठीक है, ओके, यस यस.
Sir, in India, total over the different states are going to be executing their own economic strategies. That's why India is not getting any economic problems up to now. But Sri Lanka has been applying new economic plan. That is the main reason to collapse of their economic system.
Yes, yes. We should compare it with our 1991 BOP crisis. Okay, and during that time also we did not have sufficient foreign exchange reserves. We faced similar kind of BOP crisis. But in a very appropriate timing, the intervention by the political executives, leaders. Okay, so that response was completely or solely dependent on good economics. So politics was not involved there. So our finance minister at that time, okay, earlier Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, okay, so he was given this task and the visionary leadership of the then Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. So the decisive decisions were taken at that time कि ये करना ही है, बहुत ही ज़रूरी है. ठीक है, so even let's say they may have faced the opposition, but the decision was good, timely, and let's say the results were immediately felt after 4-5 years. ठीक है, तो ये डिले नहीं होना चाहिए. BOP crisis is fine. For that purpose only IMF is constituted. No, IMF उसके लिए है. Extended Fund Facility जो है EFF, IMF का उसी के लिए है. Right? So one should know that they can take the help of IMF. But the problem here is delayed intervention is not good for any economy. Okay, so yes, we can discuss, we are going to discuss that in ED lectures tomorrow. We are going to compare it with Sri Lankan, let's say the crisis that has happened with Indian crisis in 1990s, BOP crisis. Such kind of question can be asked in UPSC. ठीक है कि क्या similarities है, क्या differences है, वो सारी चीजें हमने cover करनी चाहिए. Okay? Yes, those who are appearing for 400 DIMS program for tomorrow's test, best of luck to you. ठीक है, और any question from your side? Okay, fine, let us stop then.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.